All right, let's get started. So we're going to come right to our mat, and it's probably good that we get a little warm up in. Nothing too strenuous, but we want to get the blood flowing, heat building in the body, right? So a quick downward dog, let's say about a good 30, 45 seconds. Spread those fingers, tuck the toes, and you can see I'm using like long sleeves and pants here because I like to stretch really warm. This will just keep more body heat. So uh, take a few breaths here. Let's pedal our feet out. You're starting to feel the crack, the pops in the ankles. So move in ways that feel good. We are encouraging a little bit extra movement here in the beginning of class. Okay, so if you're just joining, we're in that downward dog, feeling out our space, and let's start to breathe a little bit deeper. Let's not forget that, as we're always trying to stretch our big muscle groups, but we're also we want to look at the deep body, right? Things like the lungs, the diaphragm, and the muscles all around your digestive tract. So we want to also try to bring attention to places where we're maybe lacking awareness. Okay. So last few breaths here in your down dog. Just think warm up, feel good movements, guys. Okay. Because that's going to look a little different person to person. All right. I'm going to keep moving through our next warm up. Here is the tabletop with first it's the very linear, the forward and back. Cat, cow, nice inhale, arches my back. Get some more spinal movement going. Big exhale, rounds the spine, tucks the chin. Okay, big inhale, arches the back and lifts the chin. Big exhale, rounds the spine and tucks the chin. So try to close your eyes, take a few like that, and I'll give you a couple other options here as we go forward. Just as much as this is like a science and a self-study, it's an art. We're trying to be creative, and that's another way we learn about the body and the self here. Now, watch me here. I'm going to come back to tabletop. See how I turn the hands outward and then the fingers face the knees. So my fingers flipped all the way around and toward the knees. Watch me here. Cat, cow. Inhale, arch the back. Exhale, press through the heel, hand, round. Okay, get a little extra forearm stretch in there. Big inhale, arches the back. Big exhale, rounds the spine. Okay, a couple more breaths here. If it's too much to do the reverse grip, just do regular. It's good to do a lot of cat cows, right? Sometimes we don't really do enough, and it's going to take a few minutes to just stay in a nice smooth cat cow movement. All right, so it doesn't hurt if you don't want to get fancy. No worries. Last option for our cat cow here, yogis. We're going to turn our hands back forward. I'm going to start in that cow pose. So you're like a happy cow, they call, right? Cow, a lot of grass, the belly starts to dip here. And then I'm going to go right, circle up, and then left. So from the front angle, you might see a little better. I'll arch into my cow, and I'm going to draw this big circle. You see that? And I'm starting to even bend the elbows a little bit. And I'm kind of just exploring again. So this is kind of one of my classic warm-ups for stretch class. Got a few more warm-up movements to go here. But now we're really looking around more in the core and the back, the hips. And as long as you're moving, there's no exact way I'm telling you to do this right now, yogis, all right? So our next movement's gonna get into that lateral plane and the big ankle stretch. We want a warm-up stretch because later the ankles, we're going to need those to be a little bit open. So I'm going to keep going here. We're going to sit on the ankles. Let's just start to get to our side body. So remember, we're not really using this to, stretch in a hyper end range. We're just more using it to kind of stimulate, activate, get into that area, underarm, ribs, and side body. Okay? So as I sit on, compress my ankles, I'm taking a big inhale, getting into that side ribs. Okay? Couple more. Side to side. Big breath. Okay. Last one or two at your pace, right? So I won't do everything with you. I try to demonstrate, explain the exercise, and I just kind of want you to step into that moment and have the experience. All right? And since we just kind of compressed our legs, how about we wake up our ankle a little bit more and mainly the hip, all right? So we're gonna come back to tabletop, continuing this warm up. Shift my weight to my left foot, left knee, so press the left foot down with the right leg up. And here's where you can roll out your ankle a little bit. It might feel good, 2, 3, stretching. And then you bend the knee and you kind of circle your hip joint. Now, sometimes in the power class, I'll have you do this like really slow, focusing on the subtle movements, but this is a little bit more just kind of, let's move that hip joint. Okay, notice I reverse direction. So it's a nice big circle in the hip. And just to remind you, that's like your biggest joint. Biggest muscles are there, the biggest bones, and that biggest sciatic nerve. Really good to make sure we kind of move it very freely. Get some weight off of it and let's move it, all right? When you're done there, let's take our right knee down. It's just a mobility warm up here. Left leg goes high, roll out the ankle, please. 2, 3 each direction will do the job. Okay, then you just soften, bend that knee, and then it's a nice big circle. So the knee comes in, it goes out, it comes back around, turns down and under. Okay, so you get a few more. Again, maybe you do 3, 5 each direction. If it's too strenuous, be easy, take a little rest. No, no worries. So, guys, we got 2 more warm-up. We got 2 more warm-up movements. We're gonna go into our rotation and then like the horizontal abduction, and then we will do our biggest warm-up movement. And then boom, we're gonna go into some nice meditative stretching. All right, yogis, so when you're done with your hips, take a little movement if you need. And we're gonna come to our tabletop. And I'm just gonna have us do the repetitive today. So we're gonna walk our hands a little bit closer together maybe, okay? Right hand behind the right ear. Big exhale brings the right elbow toward my left arm, forearm, right. Inhale brings the right elbow and chest, abdomen up and over. Okay, so big exhale, I twist down, inhale, I rotate up. Okay, just do a few more here, yogis, on that side. Notice we're not alternating sides, it's a repetitive movement. There are multiple variations here. As long as we're rotating our spine, you can even sit on your heels and do something like this, right? As long as we're getting that twist going in a movement form, all right? You do a spinal rotation and, like I said, the horizontal abduction. We'll take both hands down. You can shake it out a little bit if you need. Left hand behind the ear. Exhale it toward the right form. Inhale it up and open. All right, so again, the classic warm-up here for the flexibility or just, yoga class in general, kind of mainly looking at things like pelvic tilt and spinal actions. Everyone looking pretty good. Look, everyone looks good there. Can't go wrong with this exercise. Actually, this is physical therapy that I learned this one from. So really good stuff to do regularly. Okay, so after you finish up your final rotation there, we're going to seal it in with our biggest movement warm-up. You're more than welcome to do like chaturangas. Basically, it's the same thing. This is going to work a little bit more deeper bending of the knee and stretching of the back. So we're going to exhale toward child pose. You're welcome to pause. I'm going to give you a little extra time in this final warm-up movement. Okay, it might feel good to kind of hang out here for a few more breaths. But eventually, you're going to take a big inhale. You're going to round the spine up, and you're going to bring those hips forward toward the wrists. You want to start to press your feet down now. This can be kind of achy in the back, so let's not force anything, right? Exhale back, nice little child pose, maybe even leaning. See how I start to explore a little bit, and then I come forward more towards my cobra. It's a big inhale. And then big exhale, I slowly go back. Like I said, you could go down dog, up dog, but that's pretty strenuous. No need to do that. The first part does the job there. How about you take a few more forward and back, and then just like we did cat-cow, you start to kind of get outside that line. So it's very linear to start forward and back, okay? It's very, creative after that. So it's more like I go back to child pose, I bring my hips left, forward and down, right? And it's, again, more exploring approach, okay? So last few, 30 seconds or so, get into that a little bit more. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit of heat, blood flow everywhere, right? This is a really important exercise, yogis. It's it's big hip flexion and knee flexion into kind of an active knee extension and hip extension. So we don't have enough hip extension in our daily life. Not people. Someone asked me, why are you so obsessed with hip extension? Well, it's because we're always in hip flexion, right? Our side is stuck short. So we're always seated. we need to strengthen our butt, the hip extensor and our posterior tilt. So we need to bring those hips like forward more in space, right? And this is such a nice one to help that knee bend, get some core release. All right, yogis, let's keep going here. We're gonna swing our legs around. This is one of my classic starts. I love to start right in that straddle. So we're gonna go right forward. Here we go. So I want you to start to think more stillness and breath work as opposed to body movement. You're allowed to move, but a lot of times I see people in class are fidgeting too much. You want to try to let your body relax, all right? So I'm gonna get the legs nice and wide. That's gonna look very different person to person. You can bend your knees, right? You can sit on a pillow. And to start, I wanna try to lengthen the back of my legs. So it's almost like my heels reach out, okay? Yeah, you get your legs wide, but they don't have to be too wide to start, okay? Sit up nice and tall. Just, if you're not very good at this posture, yogis, you wanna use your hands behind you to sit up tall. Postures first. So someone who's not very flexible in this, you're gonna see stuff like this, right? Where I'm on the back of my sit bones and my spine is rounded. So I wanna work getting to the front of my sit bones, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the opposite, okay? So I'm gonna flex those feet. I'm just gonna go straight down the middle today, all right? A little bit longer hold. We're gonna walk those hands forward. Now, if you're not that flexible, you just keep your hands back here and you start to go forward a little bit, all right? Now let's close our eyes. And let's breathe deep into the lower belly, the hips. Try to relax your shoulders a little bit. Soften any face muscles that might be straining. And just enjoy that stretch for a good another maybe 90 seconds or so. Every inhale, you're getting a little bit more kind of length. And every exhale, you're trying to maybe melt, soften, release into range. But we're not trying to like jam or force range, okay? Couple more breaths here, yogis. You got this. Remember, if that stretch is difficult for you, it's usually a sign that you probably need it, okay? So let's not avoid the ones that are difficult for us. Let's try to find a way to approach them. You know, say this is really tough. I might have you sit up against the wall. Remember, posture is the priority. So you kind of, put your lowest part of your back up against the wall, and then you just work on sitting here. And that might be enough for a lot of us, right? You work on kind of engaging your leg. And from there, you start to go forward. That's a really nice kind of way to start if this is a lot. You're trying to get your lowest part of your back up against the wall. All right, posture is the priority, yogis. Let's not teach our body bad posture. All right, posture is going to be more important than really flexible muscles, even though we don't want the muscles stiff either. All right, but if I had to pick, I'd rather see you guys sitting up tall. All right, big inhale, guys. Let's get out of there. Let's slowly release, come back to center. So pretty good hold there on the first big stretch. Take a moment, you're new to that. It takes a little time to get out of there. So I do want to go for a counter. I put these two together on purpose. It's kind of like one of my classic stretch routines. But after this, we're going to switch it up a little bit. All right. So Sphinx. We're going to lay down on our chest, and we're going to come to our forearms here. Now, if you're really stretchy, you can go to Cobra, but let's not overstrain. We're not trying to make you super flexible. We're just trying to get a little bit more balance through the muscular body, right? So this is enough for pretty much everyone, right? So elbows under shoulders, lift the chest. Now, if it's too much, you just go like this a little bit lower, but still chest a little bit higher than hips, okay? Drive the pubic bone down, point your toes. Again, you can intertwine your fingers, try to create a little bit more length through your crown. Lift the chest, roll the shoulders back and down. All right, you can relax your feet here in the end, but remember, I want medial rotation, so big toes touch, heels fall apart, rather than kind of having my toes face outward, okay? So big toes touch, let's hold position. Let's go into a breath meditation, another good 90 seconds or so. If this starts to really like irritate your shoulders and your traps, you're not used to weight bearing here, right? Like pressing your forearms down and then pulling them towards your ribs. Those muscles are not developed. A lot of times muscles hurt because they're weak, right? So, uh, take a little breather if you need. Don't worry, you're gonna get there. Don't overstrain. Uh, take a break and come back and join us, right? So a good another, you're still on a good 30, 40 seconds. So just like our kind of warm up, very linear, right? Very symmetrical. Forward bend with the wide legs, back bend here with the narrow legs. And now we're going to go more into the rotational qualities and the one-sided stretches. So we got 2 in a row. This is the next level of class starting, okay? So those were our 2 kind of warm-up stretches. Now we start to enter into the bigger positions. Listen to your body. I'll try to give options, okay? We're going to lower down to our chest when you're done there. Take a moment. You see this little release? Really seems simple, but really excellent. Good massage, rotational release. We're going to get to rotational stretches in your hips a little bit later in class tonight. So good to get into your thighs. Think massage. Think just kind of releasing tension from that stretch. And how about we just throw this in here anyway? This chest stretch, it's almost too good to pass up. Hard to also find a good substitute, right? So we're gonna lay on our chest here, yogis. We're gonna reach our right arm. Now look at my right arm. It reaches right directly off my mat to the right. It's not to the front. It's not down here reaching with my feet. It reaches away from my shoulder. I press the palm down. I push to my left hand. I roll toward my right side. Try to relax your head down. See my head relaxes. Now, if it's easy, roll back to your chest. Keep the elbow about as high as the shoulder. Can you see my arm? It's about a 90-degree angle here. This is one of these 3 postures we're doing often here, guys. Okay, press your right hand down, elbow, shoulder down. You can reach that left foot kind of behind it. If you need one more demo, you can see it in a standing form. You're like this on your chest, and you're pushing here. Okay, and this foot's kind of reaching here. Easier versions here. Now, there's a whole realm of stretching here, right? We do it like this, we do it like that, we do it like that, we also do it like that. And that's like 6 variations. I tend to just stick with this lateral rotation here and maybe a little extra rotation, but don't be shy to switch it up. There's been a couple classes where I've taught this version. There's been a few classes where I taught pec minor and a few classes where I taught medial rotation. So, but in a general thumb, we want more of that kind of lateral, the opening, rolling back of the shoulders on average, okay? So try to take the last few deep breaths. All right, now please take your time, your pace here. We're gonna come back to center. Just simple, switch sides, right? So again, you reach your left arm out, boom, spread those fingers. Some of you's got this kind of crunch thing going on when the elbow comes in, the shoulder comes out. Let's get that shoulder down, arm out. Remember, we're trying to create space. Press through your right hand. The hand not only pushes you kind of into the stretch, you're gonna feel it in the front of your shoulder, maybe even like your bicep and elbow, maybe that chest, how it connects to the sternum. Okay, and you're using not only your right hand to push, but also just kind of support, take some weight off, be there. So a good minute and a half here. Try to breathe, again, shoulder away from ear. Actively press your left shoulder down. Try to relax your head down, reposition your hips and your body to optimize comfort. Use your breath here, yogis. And notice if you're straining, like you get good at the pose, you start to notice the pose. Where are you wasting energy? A lot of times it's in the right hand here. So can you relax your right arm a little bit? Right? Some of us, I see the face tenses up because the stretch is stimulating. So try to relax there too, guys. We don't want to stress our body out unconsciously as we're releasing other parts. you know, we might not be getting too much done there, right? So let's try to release body parts without stressing other parts out, okay? That's such a good one, right? Now let's keep going here, guys. Big inhale. You're at your pace, right? Some of us might want to hold out a little bit longer. We're going to come back to our chest. We're going to slowly press back. And I am going to have you hold child pose for a moment. I'm going to combine, remember those two main muscles that are the frozen shoulder, the pec major, which we just stretched, and then the lats. Okay, so we did this kind of dynamic warm up. So easy variation. We're just going to hold child pose here, yogis, and we're going to kind of press our palms down. And you're going to feel a nice stretch in the under armpit. So here's our easy variation. For those of us who want to go more, you're going to need your yoga blocks. Notice I'm going to have about 6 inches between my blocks or so. I don't want the blocks too far forward here, guys. I want to try to get my elbow, upper forearm on the block, not my wrist. So I'm going to reach my forearms. So let's call this an assisted child pose. So same thing, but the blocks create a little bit more lift in those arms, a little bit more opening in the under armpit. Okay, head falls between the blocks, and I try to relax. Now, the big variation, you do have to get your elbows. Just for, you don't have to do this, but it is a nice variation for flexibility. I got to get my elbow on the block, right? And I don't want my elbows wide. I don't want my elbows like this. I want them like this. And in essence, what's going to happen is this. So the elbows are on the block. So third and final variation, hands in prayer, head falls between block. Hands go for the upper spine, and I press my back of my elbows into the blocks, and I breathe. We got to try to release those lats, yogis. When you look at imbalanced muscles, even more so than hip flexors on a lot of people, is adductors, right? And then, it's adductors on both, right? Because your arms are always down by your side and your legs are always together. So I started with bringing your legs right open because they're always literally adducted. And then the arms are always down by your side. So the armpit gets very fascially dense. It gets very difficult to reach the arm up. That's usually the test to see if there's a lot of fascial adhesion, webbing around the shoulder, armpit, lat area. Okay, nice job there, guys. Let's keep this party going. This class goes really quick, and we're almost about halfway done already. So let's come up to our tabletop. Now we're going to go for the lizard. This is one of our main psoas and glute stretches. Those are antagonists. So big stretch. Now it's a lizard. We haven't done it in a few weeks. Got to bring it back around, okay? For a lot of us, I'm going to want to use the blocks. Notice I'm on the higher setting. We want to try to work flexibility, but let's be kind at the same time. I'm going to step the right foot outside my right hand or block. Now, I want to bring the foot wide so it helps kind of with less pinching in the hip crease, and the ribs are kind of out of the way. So I don't want to be like this. See how my chest is on my thigh. I want the foot like outside the hand or the block so I can start to descend the chest down. Watch my back foot. I tuck my toes. I lift up the knee and kind of pull it back. Watch, I reach back more. I pick the knee up and pull it back. So you can see that I'm not here, knee under hip. I walk that knee back, getting those thighs to spread. So you can see my thighs are in like a split. All right. With practice, let's bring the top of the foot down. With more practice, I can bring my hands to the floor. Some of us, maybe even forearms down. Okay, and I want you to like hug your right knee in today and just drop your right shoulder and chest toward the floor. You're more than welcome to tuck your back toes and lift your back knee for an active stretch. But let's breathe here. Good another minute, minute and a half or so. You gotta try to relax here, yogis. Big breaths into your abdomen, into the hips. There are variations, right, where you kind of roll me out right to your front foot. You can explore, but I just said keep the big toe down and knee hugging in, because I often see a lot of people just kind of in repetitive, you get options and then it's like you always go to that option. I want you to try to discipline that. Which part do you do less of? You might learn something new about your body. Who knows? Maybe that's going to become your favorite one. So it's important that we, choose what we don't do as much and do the ones we don't like. All right. There's a reason that that's happening that way. So you might just be reinforcing your patterns, and that might be that kind of variation of the stretch that you need. All right, big inhale. Now go slow, right? That's a big stretch. We're gonna come up, walk your knee in, maybe shake your leg out. Okay, we're just gonna go to our second side. So some of us have blocks. Left foot steps outside, left pinky. Right foot crawls, knee back. Eventually, top of back foot down. And eventually, you're getting good at it, you're down on your forearms. All right? You just start to let your chest descend down. Now, it depends on where you're tight. You might really feel this in your left front back of your leg here. And some of us might really feel it in the front of the right leg. Some of us feel in both. I tend to feel this in my front leg more. Depends on like your muscle. They have these muscle compensation patterns. Some people are really frontline. Like you could be trying to do like a glute exercise. Like you could run. Say me and you ran together. My glutes might fire more. Your quads might fire more. Okay, and that's going to show on my patterns of your tightness. So try to relax. Take a good another minute. Close your eyes, and let's take some deep breaths here, guys. Just notice how you can maybe lengthen your spine a little bit, relax your traps, and remember to breathe. Hey, Leslie, we're going there next. Were you reading my mind or what? That's cool. You can do that. You can do whatever you want. So lizard stretch, it's a really powerful yoga pose. If you got the tight psoas and the glutes, make sure you're getting that one done regularly, all right? We're gonna get done with that whenever you're ready, please. Let's shake it out. Let's go to our wrists here, yogis. So you wanna shake your hips out. I just kind of go forward. I wanna do the hands into the wrist. I have a usual few ones I use mainly. We'll go back to those tonight. These are called the palm lifts. We're starting with a hand stretch. It's literally a finger stretch, okay? So I wanna spread my fingers and I'm gonna lift my palms up. My thumbs lift too. But notice there's this big joint where the finger meets the hand and P joint there, right there, all right? You wanna keep that joint down. I lift my palms, I lower them down, okay? So let me show you up close. Your hands on the ground like that. I'm gonna lift the palm. You see that? You see how the big, so I'm not going like that. I want to keep the fingers down. There it is. You're going to feel most likely an intense, almost like sharp stretch through the hand, okay? The hand is very used to repetitive patterns, right? You're used to going like this so much more than that. So that's why it's going to be such an intense stretch. It's basically just your actions are creating a certain design of the hand, and we're just kind of going against it a little bit so it doesn't become too imbalanced, let's say, okay? So hopefully you feel that, right? Especially if you're like a weightlifter, let's say, or you like cycle and you hold, you grip something, really extended long period there, and then your hand is kind of stuck like that. You gotta stretch those fingers, right? That's a good quick way to get it done. Last stretch here, maybe you shake your hands out a little bit. Let's bring the back of the hands down. Now, our objective is to stretch the back of the wrist. This tends to be the most stimulating wrist stretch for most of us. So I usually suggest one hand at a time. So back of your right hand down, palm up. There's a big one too. Like say you're doing yoga, you're always like this, right? So we're here. Notice my palm is face up and the fingers are facing the knees. Now, if it's a lot, yogis, watch me bring the hand closer to your knee. Basically, you're not in a hyper range there. If you want to go big, you bring the hand more forward. So forward more, neutral is a little bit in the middle, and then easier is toward the hand, toward the knee. Just work on straightening that right elbow, and then notice what happens. I rotate the crease of the elbow forward. So let me give you another demo here. I rotate the crease of the elbow forward. See that? Rotate it forward. Okay, and then, take a few more breaths and, shake that wrist out. Here's a good opportunity to wiggle your fingers, roll out your wrists, and then do your second side. Remember, yogis, that I know this one can hurt, and this is just another range of motion. In advanced yoga, we do planks, we do like chaturangas, we do a down dog, we do side plank on the back of the wrist. We're working all the same yoga postures, but on the back of the hand and on the fingertips. Seems a lot at the beginning, but you keep teaching those muscles to be strong there, and boom, they are. So let's start to work on those areas we're showing a lack of attention to. All right, and hopefully you're on your second side, right? And you're stretching, you're straightening the arm more, rolling the crease of the elbow forward. Say this was too much, you just simply go like that. That can work, right? As long as we're lengthening the back of the wrist, okay? And I remember when I started yoga, this stretch, it felt like my wrist was gonna break or something, right? And then it's funny, over time, you just keep day by day, practice by practice, you are changing your body. So your body's gonna adapt. So keep working it, and all of a sudden you're gonna come in one day and try it. It's not gonna hurt as much, all right? So let's keep going here, guys. So let's shake that out, please. And we really got about 3 really big stretches left. I'm gonna take a break in between them to get a little neck stretch in, a little bit more shoulders, but let's get one of our biggest stretches done right now. So this is probably going to be the most difficult stretch for some of us. It is the hero posture. Our goal is to bend our knee deep and extend the body. So in a sense, it means go backward, okay? So this is a tough one. Now, knees got to go together. I'd like lateral rotation, all right, or medial, excuse me. The knees go together, and we're going to sit between the heels. All right, so look at that. I can't even fit my hands between my heel. I widen my feet enough just to get my butt between my heels. Now, some of us are going to have to sit on a block or even 2. I'm going to show easy version next. Now, some of us might be able to bring our hands behind us and go back. Notice what I did. I adjusted a little bit. I untucked the calf a little bit, the muscle. Some of us might even go back further here, okay? But let's not force anything. Some of us can lay on blocks and bolsters. If you have them, you put the bolsters behind it. With practice, hands close to the feet, crown of the head down, even upper back down, and even arms crossed above the forehead, above the head. Okay, so eventually your back is arching here, yogis, all right? And your forearms are kind of like this, resting on the floor for full position. Now, you don't want to let your knees go too wide, right? You don't want your feet sticking out to the side. They're kind of facing back behind you. So your pinky toe is on the floor. The middle line, the front middle line of your foot, ankle, shin is on the floor. Not the outer edge, not the inner edge. Okay? Let's try to breathe here. Now, if you can't do all that, you could always just stand up and do something like this. But just notice how the knee comes forward. I got to bring the knee back. I got to pull the heel of the butt. I got to pull my ribs and abdomen in as my pubic bone comes forward. So there's my easier variation. You do the same thing laying on your side. Then your left side, reach your right hand back. Okay? But if you're doing a one-sided pose, you should probably start to think about the second side. So our people doing the compression, weight-bearing variation aren't there too long, okay? So after that, you go here. The main thing we're looking for here, looking out for, yogis, is if this hurts your ankles, you're fine. Your ankles are used to bearing weight every single day. They're just not used to weight in this position. What we want to look out for is pain right in the knee. If there's a pain directly in the knee, there's really no such thing as like a knee stretch. So if there's like a pain in the front knee or the outer knee, how about we back off a little bit? Maybe you try the standing or the laying version I mentioned. But again, yogis, your knee is meant to bend. And we don't want to lose the ability of a joint to move. A joint's purpose is where bones meet so there can be movement. And muscles create the movement of the joint via moving bones. Joints are for movement, or else they'd be just sealed bones. The definition of the joint is the movement, so if they lose the ability, that's the issue. So we have to learn to try to get that body part bending and moving again, okay? It takes time, but I've seen it many times. People rejuvenate their knees when they didn't think they could, okay? Let's get out of there, guys. Nice job with that position. Shake it out. If you'd like to, turn around and sit forward here for a little neck, let's call it an intermission from our big, painful hip stretches. So little break there. Let's sit up tall and just a nice simple neck stretch. We did some forward and back in the neck. How about for now, we do that lateral neck stretch. We're gonna do 3 parts, okay? So let's just bring our right ear to our right shoulder. If you wanna stand up, that's totally cool. Try to sit tall. Notice my shoulders, they're not here, they're kind of relaxed down. I'm not tilting, I'm just here. Okay. Okay, big inhale. Back to center, left ear, left shoulder. And you'd be surprised, yogis, these muscles, they're never used to hyper range, even a lot less than your legs are. And the neck isn't really a weight-bearing muscle, so they're really not that like fascially dense. In an essence, it's kind of like easy to hurt your neck. So, let's not like over jam the neck. I often see people kind of doing a lot with the neck, and that is like the spinal column, right below the brain, and then spinal cord. Let's be a little easy. Okay, so second part here for the neck. So that was right to the side, right? I want to combine something. So if you watch me here, what I'm going to do is just tuck my chin down a little bit. But then I'm going to do that same thing. So I'm going to tuck my chin, and I'm going to bring my right kind of ear to the front of the right shoulder. So instead of stretching like the side here, it's like kind of like more like the posterior side, the back and the side. So it's not the back of my neck, it's not the side, it's kind of like one click between those. So I tuck my chin a little down, and then I brought my right ear to my right shoulder. And you gotta kind of find it, right? A lot of this stuff takes just getting into it, closing your eyes and feeling, and then what we're maybe targeting, you're gonna feel it's gonna be exposed, okay? Now go slow, come back to center. You're more than welcome to shake it out a little bit. Left ear toward the front of the right shoulder. So again, a good way to kind of see it is I tuck my chin a little, and then I bring my left ear to my left shoulder. So you should feel a tug through like your trap here, okay? Couple breaths, guys. Remember, when we're doing the neck, try to breathe up, like bring the breath into the upper chest cavity, so like your collarbones and your upper back even. When I first started yoga, one of the things one of my instructors used to always teach is called back breathing. When I started, I was like a great athlete, but I could never experience that. My breath wasn't really developed that well. I had good cardiovascular endurance, but the intricate awareness of breath utilization was so not developed. And they always would talk about breathing in the back, and I was just like, I didn't really feel it. With practice, that will be, felt a lot more. Let's keep going here, guys. So back up to center, shake it out. It's the same thing, but with a little tilt back. So we're gonna try to stretch what's called the sternocleidomastoid. It's the front side neck. Not right in the front, not the side, but kind of in between. So lift your chin a little. Bring the back of your head to kind of the back of your right shoulder. It's a little awkward, be easy. And again, I don't want to see like this, right? It's just the only thing that moves, my head goes back a tiny bit, and then I kind of laterally flex it. So Feel a stretch to the front of the neck. I even like to lift my jaw up a little bit. So a little bit more detail next up tonight. I often don't take enough time for. Okay, now it's the second part. You just come back to center and you tilt your head back, maybe like an inch. That's it, right? And then I bring my left ear toward the back of my left shoulder. So you should feel a stretch in the front side of your neck, not like the side, but I'm trying to find it, okay? All right, so to seal that in, I'd like a symmetrical stretch, and I'm gonna do a fascial traction, then we're gonna go back to our hips. So we'll switch it back up. Now, what I need you to do here, yogis, is bring your hands on your upper chest muscles, and even like collarbones and part of neck. So remember, fascial traction, it's like you push your hands into the skin, the few layers of tissue under the skin, and as I lift my chin up, I wanna almost pull the chest tissue down. So it's that traction, okay? So again, if you want to see here, I lift my chin up as I pull the chest muscles down. I can slide the jaw forward and up. It's almost like I reach the tip of my chin up. It's almost like you're creating an underbite. Big muscle here called the platysma. Again, sternocleidomastoid, the digastric's involved here. And remember, subclavius is not an easy muscle to stretch. It's really just like a stabilizing muscle. It's usually considered. So, especially people who tighten the upper body, that subclavius, this muscle that runs in the bottom and like a little bit behind your collarbone, is really tight. So it's a good way we can start to traction some of that tissue, all right, and get a little bit more lengthening, releasing in there. All right, yogis, take a moment if you want to bring your chin to your chest. Okay, if you want to easily draw a little neck circle, just to kind of neutralize, or even draw a little shoulder circle, scapular movement. Okay, take 20 seconds, just kind of close up the neck work with something that feels intuitively good. All right. So here, guys, we still have a little bit to go with the hips. So we're doing a nice big kind of stretch routine tonight. Again, this is the class where we're going to capitalize on the stretching. All right. We're going to need our blocks again. And 1 or 2 years I saw go into this earlier. This is peak hamstring stretcher class. Now, I am going to do it in 2 parts. Okay. So hips over knees, right foot steps forward. Now, the goal is to get my legs straight. Now, you can bend it to start, right? The more the goal is to get my anterior tilt and spinal length. So watch me here. Somebody who's not very flexible is going to look more like this, okay? I'm working more through here, this more longer spine. I want to press the feet down. Watch my right hip. Hard to see because I have black yoga pants on, but the right hip kind of goes back and almost down in space, all right? I'm going to lengthen my spine forward, press my feet down, flex that front foot, and then I'm going to forward fold. You know, there might be a few years you want to go to full split, you slide 1 foot forward and back. You know, that's a big yoga thing. I don't really force hip flexibility anymore. I used to go to do the splits. I'm kind of just letting it fade away. Just not going to force flexibility, you know. Now, this is like that, what we call like the middle hamstring. We have 3 hamstring muscles, right? So I want to try to go for the medial one again, a little bit extra focus tonight on this. The gracilis muscles, that posterior groin that's running across like the inner back knee. A lot of people get irritation, tightness there, runs up the inner leg. So let's work that tonight. Watch my back foot. I'm in the position you guys are in, right? What I'm going to do is slide my right heel forward. I'll show you from the other angle, but I'm going to turn my back foot behind me. I have to kind of reposition my hands. Look at the right hand, so I'm still on the same side, right? My right toe is flexed to the sky. My right hand is inside my right knee, and then I turn my chest open to the sky. My left arm goes up and over. So really what I'm actually using this for is the biggest side stretch of class. So watch me here. if you need that demo. This is where I have you lift up. All right, I want to bend the knee a little bit. Look at the back foot turn in. I slide my right heel forward. My right hand on the block goes inside the right knee now, so both hands are inside. And I start to twist my chest open to the sky. But look at my back foot, how it's not here anymore. It's here, okay? And then I'm going to lift up, press my right heel down, and I'm going to reach my left arm up and over. So really, this is the peak side stretch, okay? I'm getting the inner thigh. That's also that medial. And this is more of that kind of outer lateral. So both are considered kind of like your side bodies. Then you got a few more breaths. There's more advanced versions here too, right? If you know how to do it, but I'm going to keep it here. I'm trying to rotate my chest up, yogis. You're going to feel that bring the stretch into the inner thigh more. Because what can happen here, guys, if you need that angle to see what I'm talking about, people will be here. But watch what I do. I lean the upper body back over the leg, okay? And I bring those hips more forward. And I don't want you to hold this one too long, all right? When you're done, you got to come out slowly. You got to turn your chest down, plant your hands, release your right leg. And I'd like you to just take a moment and shake that out. Okay, that's a really big stretch for someone, especially if you have back pain, because it's a huge lateral movement, and that's your deepest lower back muscle. Your torso is not used to hypermobility, right? More, just like I said, it's like your neck. The hips, arms, they're more familiar with that type of stuff because it's such a freely movable joint. So here we go, guys. Second side. It's called this half splits or half pyramid in yoga. Hard to beat this hamstring stretch. Pull that left hip back, press those feet down, lengthen your spine forward, and let's forward fold over that leg. Deep breathing here, guys. The first thing to do is to press your feet down, particularly that front foot. All right, that's key. And then from there, you're working on anterior tilt. So you can try cat-cow. And remember that the cow, that belly kind of dipping, and the anterior tilt, the tailbone sticking up and back, that's what we're looking for here. So when your spine rounds, we work the opposite. When your posterior tilt happens, we do the opposite. It's kind of a general rule of thumb. And some of us take it to full split, right? All right, yogis. So the second part, it's right from here. You basically walk your left foot forward, turn your right foot behind you, bring your left hand inside with the right hand. Reposition those feet and knees. Left hand on the block inside the foot. Right arm twists up and open. Right arm goes up and open, okay? So this is how we do triangle. If you're familiar with our yoga poses, everyone in here is, it's basically the same pose, right? You're like this, okay? And I have you here. Breathe into that side body. Remember our side movement? Here's that side stretch. Don't lean too far back, Emma. Looks good, everyone. Nice, Jesse. That's really good form. And, you know, if your hips start to bother you here, sometimes what will happen is you see it a lot. People will be like this without noticing. You see how the hip is like way out, not over the knee. If I go like that, it's usually a lot easier on the hip. The more that this starts to happen, you can see it in a few years there. It's a big stretch, but this can get like more strenuous here, okay? Good thing to just be aware of. It's not wrong, but if you notice the hips are getting really fatigued and achy there, you might want to just bring some attention of how your hips position over that weight-bearing body part, that knee there, okay? So here we go. Get out of there. Woo! Nice job. So today, we got one more hip stretch, guys. That's it. All right, and then we're gonna hit the shoulders, the biggest twist of class. So for outer hip stretch, shake it out. When I was studying the myology, I read all this literature about how the hips basically tighten up more, they're bearing the weight more, and stretch and strength response in the leg bones and muscles. react in the arms, but not really vice versa. So we're always gonna spend a little bit extra time on those hips and core and a little less time on those arms, but we still wanna do our arms. So here we go, guys, final hip stretch. I wanna do one seated. If you really wanna do pigeon or lay on your back and do figure four, that's good. Otherwise, we could try Gomukhasana tonight. It's one we do less of, and you'll have the opportunity for the arms after, so it kind of fits with today's practice. If you're gonna try Gomukhasana, if you don't know how to do Gomukhasana and it's too much, I demonstrate, you just do this. See how I cross my shins? This is called Sukhasana. It kind of precedes Gomukhasana. So I cross my shins. Gomukhasana, we're gonna cross the thighs more. So I'm gonna cross the shins if I wanna take a little bit easier. I'm gonna forward fold, okay? Now, if I wanna go for the Gomukhasana, you start like this, but watch what I do. My left foot pulls over to the right, it brings my knee forward. I put my right foot outside that thigh. So I'm trying to get my knees to stack. See how I go on the outer edges of the feet? And I pull the feet back, which is gonna point my knees forward and stack them more. This is really a not easy posture to get into, even for somebody who's pretty flexible in their hips. You can sit on a block here too, guys, okay? Just notice, I'm not sitting on this heel. It's outside my hip. My right sit bone is down. I'm sitting up normal, neutral, okay? Big inhale. If you haven't yet, we're gonna take it forward fold. You got a few more breaths on your first side. Some of you, I see you're working your double pigeon, that's always cool. Usually the easiest variation would be, again, I mentioned it with just this one, right? We do this one a lot. I love this one because your spine will stay in good posture, okay? When we stretch seated, we get that rounding. The more you're rounded, the more you're teaching that fascia. Let's be rounded, okay? So you gotta learn that sit up. I remember, you see it a lot even in like children. The parents are like, sit up straight, sit up straight. They're trying to teach those good patterns. And there's a lot of science about how different the chemical body works when we're in good posture. When the child stands up, the growth spurt, all these different chemical processes start to happen when the child stands up. Okay, let's keep going here, guys. Lean back, please, shake it out. And second side, left shin in front of right. From there, if you're going further, you want to bring that right foot around and left foot outside. And then we're going to go here. This is basically final hip stretch of class. After this, I'm going to probably sneak in a quick twist and a shoulder release. So we're going to be hips, core, and shoulders to end class nice and balanced there. And again, you can see my knees don't stack. I'm not really the best demo here. But eventually they'll kind of be stacked directly forward, okay? Pull those feet back, sit up tall, root those sit bones down. Let's bring it forward. Try to relax and breathe into it here. All right, guys, so you're kind of on your own pace here. I'd like to demonstrate how we're gonna end class because time kind of got away a little bit, so how about I give you a few suggestions? You take a couple, 3-4 minutes, you do a last pose or two. Now, some of us might want a big spinal twist. It was not a big twist in class. We did a move in, we did a big frontal rotation, but if you wanna take it here, this is probably going to be like the deepest stretch for the rotational body. And it's also going to cover our neck rotation. So I reach that right arm out, I bring that knee across. You can just take a few breaths, right? A few of us might want to go for like a restorative bridge. That's fantastic, or a restorative fish. I know some of you
have, don't like the free practice as much, but I think it's important that you're just getting a little bit of time to listen to your body and just apply because, you can't do all stretches every class. And I already do too much. So, what's one last thing that you can just tell you need? Learn to trust that instinct. Another nice one, if you wanted one last hips, like say your hips are really tight, could be a deep medial, left on outer right knee, and you bring that knee across. So it's the right knee goes in with the weight of the left leg. Now, that's our other last hip. So I gave a hip, I gave a little kind of lower back and a torso twist. Our shoulder stretch would be this one. I lean to my left, I reach my right arm up my back, spread my fingers, and then I'm going to lay on that arm. That's what we haven't done in weeks, right? It's usually a go-to of mine here. So you lay on the arm with the palm face down. It's a really nice one for the shoulders, wrists, elbow. So that's it. And then, if there's any last option, it could be something like plow. You swing your legs up over your body.
But I think that's enough options, restorative fish and bridge. Let's say another like 2.5 minutes, and we'll just take a short closing meditation. Nice, Kev. Looks good. Nice, Donna and Jim, Pamela. All looking good. Nice, Lori. Just make sure that block, Lori, if you bring your feet straight, isn't like kind of in your lower back arch. I'd really like to see it even under like your coccyx. So it's even below the sacrum. You got to play with the position. If you're doing what's called extended restorative bridge, it's where your legs go straight and the block's under you. You just want to make sure you're kind of not pushing the glutes, the lower back is kind of compressing via this position. It's almost like the block is pulling the hips away from the ribs, elongating the lower back. It's a traction, like we did with the chest. Okay, so yeah, that looks good. Everyone else, everyone's looking good. You got another 1.5 minutes. Get another stretch in, or your second side. And remember, guys, since it's stretch class, a little bit deeper, awareness of it. Basically, every time you strengthen a muscle, it is basically tightening. And every time you stretch a muscle, it is getting weaker. I'm a big believer in body maintenance every day, right? It's you take care of this one of a kind, sacred thing you're given, right? And some days you're going to lean towards this because maybe you've been doing extra walking and you're doing extra strength training and planks and whatever else you're doing. But then there's some days where maybe you haven't strengthened in a while, right? So you have to get back to that strengthening. So just to remember that every time you stretch a muscle, it does get weaker in a sense, right? So just some food for thought around the world of flexibility here, just so it's pretty clear, what's happening, all right? So remember, guys, when we think of flexibility, it's like release practice, and let's just do that with the mind. And mind over matter, right? We got to try to relax the mind if we want the body to relax. So you're going to finish up your last position. In yoga, we usually say lay on your back because it'll help you really just melt into the floor. If you're really comfortable sitting and you can be still and have no, pain or uncomfort, you can sit. So last little movements here. You guys are all finishing up. So what we do here is just get comfortable, close our eyes, shake it out if you need. You're gonna take a big inhale in your nose, big exhale. You can take 1 or 2 more of those if you'd like. But even in Shavasana, yogis, it is a relaxing of the lungs. There's no deep breathing in Shavasana. Shava means corpse pose. A corpse does not breathe deep, does not fidget either. Okay? It doesn't tense their face, it doesn't itch their nose. No physical activity, right? Just melt into the floor, letting your body rest. Final pose.